Hello everyone, and we are back with another installment of the beautiful Advanced League devlog. Today, it's a big one. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of quality of life features for the template editor, mainly focusing on allowing imports through other templates, so like importing directly from a template zip file, or looking at when you have a full player file where you have granted yourself like all the advancements, for example, you can then look at the differences of that of your template versus the player file and update. This is huge, especially for Blazing Caves, where there's a lot of updating with some criteria get added on one advancement, then another advancement gets renamed, like put into a different tab, or certain advancements get added entirely newly, and therefore I wanted to make it as easy and as convenient as possible to update a template for a new version, but not having to look at which advancements got added through the documentation of Blazing Caves. I had a lot of fun with that in the past, where I made my own custom like Blazing Caves data pack combination. I had to look at the devlog and everything. And yeah, not every addition was always documented, which ultimately halted my updating process. But here, I wanted to make it as easy as possible, and it's gonna be huge. I've also added a lot of bulk actions, which basically means you can do certain actions with multiple goals at once, and I've added that to every single tab. So this is a huge one that should really, really make working within the template editor a lot more efficient. First off, this is a newly set up tracker, completely fresh, and yeah, you get this import. Obviously, you can donate, and will be featured here on the settings window as well as on the overlay at the very end of a run. So just close this here. We first have to link the account again. I'm just going to do that and hit link account. Then here we go. In the background, I'm already running a 1.16 instance, meaning that's why it's not like showing up an error for not being able to read a saves file. All righty. So the first thing I want to start off with here is simply going into the co-op tab right here, enabling co-op. This right here now is slightly adjusted, that if you host locally or receive locally, then the host and all the receivers must have a matching Advanced League version. Right now I'm using v1.4.4, and with this release, this is going to be v1.5.0. So when you're going to see this video, the very latest version will be v1.5, and you have to always use the latest version when connecting through the relay. So when you start the lobby, or if you join via the relay as a receiver, you must always be on the latest version, just so it's compatible with the server. So be aware of that. You'll always have to be in the latest version for the relay connection. Direct connection just have to be both parties the same version. All right, the next thing I want to quickly talk about is related to the AATool layout, which is now here by default. So by default, you'll have the manual layout activated down here, and you'll see immediately how AATool used to look like. The very first thing I want to show is I've briefly corrected the text positioning of the AATool layout. This is not a very big deal, but just if we look at biomes, for example, I need to go into the advancements, search biomes, venturing time. Right here, every single text position used to be defined, and I've removed that. So on the next update, it will align slightly better if it wasn't already correctly aligned. I don't think there's any visual difference, but I just wanted to make it cleaner that it snaps to the icon once with no text position being defined. And while we are in here, this is now pretty interesting. So let's just say I can mess around here. I'm just gonna keep the very first biome, which is plains in this case, as top left. Then I'm going to make the forest biome be something in the center. I'm actually just going to do full center. Maybe not the icon position. Let's do it with the text position. It has to be the text position because if you hover over here, it now says in co-op, the contributor player face is part of this box. So basically, the text position now is also responsible for where the co-op player face is rendered, right? So the co-op player face is rendered as part of the text. That's really important. It gets added to the bounding box. So if we quickly go into the visual layout editor, we can just go into forest and just like kind of try to drag it. That will now set it as these coordinates. And what we now can do, I can say I'm going to make this center. It's going to put the forest over here. I'm just going to leave it for the sake of how it's going to, for the sake of showing how it works. And then I'm going to go wooded hills, which would be the next one here. I'm just going to like slightly drag it without actually moving it. That way it, oops, I went one too far. It pre-filled the coordinates here. And I'm going to choose one from the, so we had center, and I'm going to choose one from the right column. So there's either top right, center right, or bottom right. I'm just going to do bottom right. You can now see the wooded hills right here got placed from like the hitbox down here over. And I'm going to stop visual editing. I'm going to save this, right? Once we've saved, we can close this. We have to close the template editor to go into the co-op tab. I'm quickly going to toggle this so we can see the hiding modes, and it's not always on top. The overlay we don't need. I'm going to close the settings. Then I'm quickly going to go into the game. I'm just going to, /advancement grant at P only Minecraft adventure, adventuring time right here. And if we pause, I didn't have Hermes activated. I guess we can do that as well. We pause here, you can see all the biomes are completed. Obviously, they would be fully gone if I did this, but here they will show as grayed outs. And I'm quickly going to go into the co-op. I'm going to start a lobby. And now you can see, obviously, the player head appears next to all of the completed ones, right? And now you can see that the bounding box has shifted. So the text itself, look at this. If I disconnect, the text shifts basically. And this is where the center was for this text. I'm going to start the lobby. And now basically from here to here, the center gets drawn. Same thing with the planes. The text itself gets shifted to the right. The face gets added on the left. And for the wooded hills, remember, we set it as the right column on the anchor point. So the face gets placed on the right, shifting the text to the left. So if, for whatever reason, you make a template where the text is right aligned instead of left aligned, it would actually, in this case, also right align the player face, if that's ever something that could provide useful. I thought that was a neat little addition. So yeah, the player face right aligns if you choose the anchor point on the right side. There might be another thing that's interesting to note, actually. If I go back to tracker visuals and hide all the completed, obviously the biomes are going to disappear. However, if I, you guys don't hear the game sound, if I revoke adventuring time and I say I just revoke some kind of biomes, it's not going to work through Hermes actually, because revoking isn't in the Hermes log, but I'm just going to revoke the first 3. If I now get it to update, that would be awesome. Maybe I have to do a quick relog. I revoke it. One quick thing to mention, I just created a new world real quick. One quick thing to mention is if you are on the very first hiding mode where everything gets hidden, then obviously displaying the player face for the completed ones doesn't make much sense. So it actually appends the player face to the text of all the remaining criteria that are incomplete, right? So there's a subtle thing. And if you go the other way around, it's going to, for the second and third hiding mode, it's the same. If you go for some of these hiding modes, then the player face is actually going to display for the completed one, right? So that you always get the info. Then another small fix before we get to the bigger stuff. If I don't know, delete an advancement causing unsaved changes within the template editor, and I then use the import, let me just import from a modern player file, for example. We're in this import window. If I now want to exit, you guys can kind of see it on top of the face cam there. If I now want to exit the template editor, it will not allow me to do that. Let's close Minecraft here. We have unsaved changes. Oh, the pop-up is... Where's the pop-up showing? There we go. So I'm going to quickly import from file again. We have this pop-up and... All right, I wanted to show this again. So basically, once we import from, let's say, a player file, the second option already reveals what we're going to talk about later. I'm going to import from a player advancements file. I have this pop-up open. If I now try to close the tracker, it will close. We expected that. I needed, obviously, to trigger unsaved changes. Okay, what I meant to show, obviously, we go in here. I, for example, delete Stone Age, leaving unsaved changes. We import from a player file. This pop-up is open now. I would now try to close Advancedly, and it gets replaced by this pop-up. This used to be a bit of a problematic case, but now we can just cancel, and we fall back to this. Obviously, the other pop-up is gone now as well. Perfectly. And obviously, just reverting the changes again, I'm going to create a new template. I'm just going to call it blah. And we're going to create the template, and now mind that this template is completely empty, has nothing. I'm just going to say I'm going to add an advancement. I'm going to even click on the advancement, but I'm now going to revert it, and it throws me out of the template. This used to be a bit of an edge case where it actually ended up displaying garbage data, which was obviously problematic. So yeah, this respects everything. So once the template through the revert changes button gets like completely emptied out, it will throw you out of the view. The next small thing is I have just briefly where's the display category shown as that? Advancement. I have basically briefly also overhauled the advancement, which is the TNT right here, with the proper Chinese translation that is used. And this right here is another thing that I quickly want to address. Obviously, the UI interface, it has not, doesn't use this Source Hands Sans CN normal font. So if we apply it, then obviously restart Advancedly, then the settings window will also look slightly different. And it now also displays all advancements, but in Chinese here. This is the display category thing that I might want to quickly touch upon now. So if we go into the template editor, every single template now has a display category field that basically predetermines what will be in here. So if we set it default language, it'd be English. In German, it says that, and in Chinese, that, right? And this way, it doesn't go to, let's say, the all advancements AATool optimized thing. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if I go into the AATool optimized layout right here, edit template, I remove it, save the changes, I remove this, and then select 116 all advancements with the optimized layout, and go back to default because that's where we removed it. And you can see it pre-fills with the dash AATool optimized. This is something that always bothered me personally, because on the overlay itself, it will then also show that, right? And it kind of pushes everything to the side, not showing my socials whatsoever, and it just bothers me. So if you work on a template, then you can define in the template itself what's gonna be the default for it. So we're gonna say all advancements, we're gonna save that. If I now reselect it, I first go to something else, then all advancements, optimized, and you can see it pre-fills exactly what we had in here. This is a new entry that is at the very top of the language file. Beautiful. Yeah, and one thing to note, all the official templates that are in this link, all the official templates right in this table have this display category updated. Yeah, sorry, I've yapped a lot, but now we get to the interesting part that inspired this entire update. Somebody started again to work on the Blazing Caves All Advancements template, and now what is interesting, what's interesting is I've created a new world where Blazing Caves is installed. This is for 26.1, but it ultimately doesn't matter that much. I've been testing something for the Ultimate Enchanter. So if we do advancement grant at P only, Blazing Caves, and then it would be in challenges, Ultimate Enchanter, I grant that to myself. And with that, once I've granted it to myself, now I can make a new template. I'm going to go 26.1.2 because that's the version. I'm going to call it Ultimate Enchanter. Create template, boom, edit. I can now import from that player file right here. So let me do that. There we go. I'm gonna just copy the path to this. Import. Now obviously I can search for Ultimate Enchanter. Is this right path? And then we go for the path, import the file, and now we can do Ultimate Enchanter. You can see it filters for the Ultimate Enchanter advancement. We like include the criteria and basically just select everything. We can also do select all visible. We're going to get to these features here as well. This is going to be insanely interesting. Maybe it'd be smarter to only import a portion to show this. I'm going to say deselect all because if we include crit, it actually selects that or keeps that selected. I'm just going to go ahead and select just a few of these. Maybe we search for criteria, we do sharpness, and then we just select like all the sharpness ones. That will make it easier. I'm going to confirm the import, and now we have all the sharpness books, all the sharpness books and regular sharpness in here. And if we go back into Minecraft now, this is really, really important. We go into the super challenges. Right here, we have the Ultimate Enchanter completely done. You can see the Ultimate Enchanter actually shows 128 criteria, even though this is clearly more than 128. What's actually happening here is the Unbreaking 3 and the Unbreaking 3 book count as one criteria. So ultimately, it's actually 256 different entries. I can show this if we import again from the player file and we search for Ultimate Enchanter right here, and we select all the visible with criteria enabled. You can see it's exactly 256 criteria, right? So it's actually grouped into groups of 2. And if you now activate this checkbox here, you can now add things to a group. So really important, we now have this bulk selection checkbox. I'm going to select it for sharpness 2. And we could go into advancement details, search for sharpness 2. Now we're going to filter for both the sharpness. I'm going to select both of these. And then if I click add to group and say sharp 2, apply, it will now, I'm stupid, it applied it here, but we can also do bulk actions on the selected ones. and say add selection to group, and we can select a pre-existing group, and there we go. This also got selected as sharp 2. We can do the same thing with sharpness 1 right here. We're gonna say sharp 1, and you can see it also like randomly hashes a color. You can add that down here. That way it belongs to the same group. Obviously, we can save that. I'm quickly going to select this template in here as 26.1.2. It doesn't show up yet as like in parentheses because we'd have to reload the tracker for that. But you can see right here, obviously I'll still have the default icon, but we can also fix that. Right, and now we have basically these, if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, these are 10 criteria, but it only shows 8 out of 8 completed. Why is that? Yeah, well, because we've added sharp 1 and sharp 2 as a group already. So if I were to go ahead and do the advancement revoke at P, wait, I can just take the previous command and revoke that. Now it's completely gone. And now I just give myself, for example, I refresh the sharpness book, right? You can see it now completed sharpness 2 book and sharpness because they belong to the same group, and it now contributed only 1 progress unit, right? And so this way you could group all the individual books and regular enchantments. So this is more of a Blazing Cave specific thing, but really important to make Advancedly support Blazing Caves as well, with the grouping for advancement criteria. And obviously the same thing works all the way down to 1.7, because adventuring time in 1.7 upwards also has criteria as achievements. So there it obviously works as well. I obviously don't want to go into too much detail here, but wherever you have a list, you will have this checkbox with a few bulk actions that make sense for that list. Let me actually just go over to, let's say, the All Advancements template for 26.1. No, let's actually do 26.2 because it's like the latest one. And then we're just going to go 26.2 All Advancements, the regular one, just Control S to switch over. And obviously this template still has the automatic layout, right? Even on the manual layout, if I switch back to the automatic layout, just going to add these separator lines back. And if I go back to the manual layout, and this is still the auto layout within the manual layout because none of these have actual coordinate positions. So if I go to hide all completed, you can see the Minecraft one right there actually disappeared because it shifted everything over, right? You can see that kind of shifting. So I'm just gonna go out of this world. I'm just gonna create a quick new one, and within this world, we can kind of do this as a split screen or something. And right here, if I kind of just, I don't know, so I should give it P cobblestone. You'll see Stone Age is completed. And now what I want to show is we can arrange the advancements like really quickly. This is a nice view. We currently have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 columns. Actually works perfectly. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go into the template, go to advancements, and now select everything. Shift click. So I first click this, then shift click at the bottom, selecting everything at once. Then these bulk actions appear right here, and I could first set an icon for all of them. I can also browse. I'm going to quickly go to where Advancedly is set up for me here, and then I'm going to go icons. I don't know. We have the Golden Dandelion. That is one of the new additions. I'm just going to select that. It's not going to look too great. I'm going to apply. Still going to allow us to revert the change. We're going to save, and every single advancement got turned into a Golden Dandelion. Because why not? This is incredibly useful, I think, for just working with a lot of goals. Same thing with bulk actions. We could also toggle them all as hidden, which if we save that, they're literally all gonna disappear. The hidden only affects the non-manual layout though. So if we uncheck this, now they're gone. If I recheck this, they're back because this is more of a fixed position thing. To hide them in the manual layout, you'd have to use this hiding down here. Right? I'm just gonna toggle it again. That unhides it for all of them. And we can save. Perfect. And now obviously if I toggle, they're gonna be there again. And for the last one, this is the big one. We can do layout coordinates. We counted 18 columns. So if I set the amount to be 18, we don't need to do the text position, so let's just uncheck that. It would apply separately here through that button. But we can just say, okay, we started 100, 100, should be good. We're going to add an offset. Each background is like 96 by 96 pixels. So I'm just going to do an offset of 150 on X and on Y with 18 columns. We're going to keep it as top left, and I apply. And right here, you can see, obviously, well, we'd have to rearrange the criteria. But with this now, this is fixed. So if I go hide all completed, and I'll have to save this, then apply the settings, you can see now the goals stay in place. This guy's gone. Now the goals stay in place. Obviously, you'd have to deal with the criteria separately. So maybe to give an example, we have the nether biomes. I'm just going to search for advancements. We can also, within advancements, I could search for wastes, and it would show the nether biomes here. And within here, we can again do bulk selection, shift click down here, bulk actions, layout coordinates. And now it's hard to tell what coordinate do you have? X, Y 1000. So that's the verticality. Just going to do like 1200 or something. With Visual Layout Editor, if you hover or something, you'll see that. And I'm just going to say bulk actions, layout coordinates. In this case, I'm only going to do the icon positioning. I guess you don't have to uncheck that if you aren't going to modify it. And we can now say, yep, it's going to be one column, no exclamation mark, one column. Spacing is around, we don't need a spacing there, actually. We only need vertical spacing. Let's do like, I don't know, 64. We apply that, and shifted there because I didn't do the starting position properly. Layout coordinates, let's say the starting position is at around 1200 and 800. That's going to put it somewhere at the bottom. We're going to apply that, and then you can see right here, we've perfectly arranged in a column. And the cool thing is, if you set the layout coordinates and set the columns to 0, it will default to a simple increment. So if we say we do an offset on 64 on both and 0 columns, and we apply that, then we can create diagonals or straight lines or whatever you want. So with zeros on the columns, you could actually kind of just make a straight line in whatever direction you want to go. Thought that was cool. Obviously, the grid is more useful, but this is still an option. Perfect. Obviously, same thing as before. It also shows you how many criteria you've selected. I've rearranged a lot of these buttons on like all of the tabs for consistency, like up here. And depending on, what you're kind of interacting with, you could, for example, set the icon. You could toggle the hidden, deselect, or delete all of them. Not deselect, deselect is here. You could also delete them, revert the changes, whatever. Oh yeah, that reverts the nether biomes. That's unfortunate, but this is really, really flexible. You have that on basically every tab. And now, one of the most important things, actually, we deselect everything, and I just select a handful. We can now reorder the entire bulk. So I have 7 items selected. I drag them down a little bit, and they all got reordered. This is probably one of the most significant changes because I spent so much time reordering things. And one thing to note here, if we only reorder one, it's basically going to just show the name of that one. Checkbox is always going to be persistent. Super, super cool. Obviously, all of that can be reverted. one of the next big things is, so if I just export this template, I've kind of already done that, but I'm just going to overwrite it. If I export, for example, the 26.2 all advancements template, I can now go ahead, create a new template, blah, 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 whatever, create the template. And now if I go edit template, I can import from another template. I can select the one that we just had. It automatically filters for the advancements within the 26.2 template that we exported earlier from the all advancements. And obviously there are some compatibility checks, so you can't import invalid achievement formats or the old achievement or the old stat format, whatever, or none of the numeric IDs work from like an older template. For example, if I were to export, let's do this test template. I just export it as a 1.0 test 1 template. Then I go back to where we were and I edit and I import from that test 1. You will see none of that is going to work and it's going to show an error as well. Yeah, so I'm going to import from the 26.2. We're just going to select a handful of advancements here. You can see how many are selected out of the total. You can also, if there were layout positions, you could also say it should import the manual layout positions as well. Maybe this is interesting. If I go back into 1.16, I take the categorical one, I export that. Also, if you bundle the icon files, that will be respected too, obviously. And we're going to go import from other template. I'm going to take the categorical one. I'm going to check the layout positions. And I'm just going to take a good chunk of this. Confirm import. I'm going to save. I'm going to make sure to select this blabal template that we created here. It's beautiful, has a layout. It even says that now. You can see, well, you can kind of see it represents partially the categorical layout. Obviously, all the lines are missing. But speaking of lines, I could go decorations, import from template. I go into categorical and I can select all of this with the layout positions. Obviously, if I were to not do that, just select a few without the layout positions, then, well, that text is just going to be there. But obviously, if all the link goals are still there, because this allows you to search for the nether general header, and yeah, link goals will be there. I'm just noticing some of these link goals are actually non-existent. Obviously, some of these linked goals might not be in the template. I'm probably just going to put a simple warning here as well to make sure that the user will know, yeah, to recheck these linked goals, just because, yeah, a lot of these don't actually exist in the template right now. But yeah, you can see, you can just import from another template. It's really, really nice. We even have one custom goal in the categorical template. That is the shulker transport one. We can again do layout positions, save that, and then you will see the it just completed. Probably. Why is it not showing up? Visuals. Oh yeah, hide all completed. And oh, because I'm stupid. I have the search activated. There we go. Now the shulker transport is visible there as well. Beautiful. And most crucially, you can also import, let's say if we import from the categorical template a deventuring time, it's obviously not going to really work that well, but I'm going to import it and we'll have biomes down here. And I'm just going to be stupid and kind of just delete a lot of the biomes. And we're going to do bulk actions, delete selected. Yes, delete. I'm going to save that. You can see, well, you have some of the biomes there. This time they also, yeah, it remembered the checkbox with the layout position, so they got put here. With the birch forest, not too many of the other biomes, there's only 6 biomes, yeah. But what we can do now, I can import from another template and actually go ahead and, well, select the advancement from the dropdown. In this case, so you can import criteria even from other advancements, which is quite unique here. And we're going to go down until we see the beautiful adventuring time advancement. Now you can see it will show all of the criteria. Really big deal. It's obviously going to complain about the first 6 already existing, so I'm just going to do that. And that brings them back. And the best part, obviously, about importing from a template is that this allows you to keep the icon files, keep the display names, even for other languages. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And again, this import from a template literally works everywhere in every possible tab. An import keeps the positionings if you have that checkbox checked. It is absolutely beautiful. Obviously, if your stage icons are selected, it will respect that right here, for example. And it's pretty cool. Obviously, if the stage icons are selected, then also this bulk selection will allow you to set the icon. If this wasn't checked, you can see setting the icon doesn't work. You can still set the icon all the same through here, but that will be for like the main goal itself. It's going to ignore the icon that is here if you have per stage icons, obviously. But super nice as well. Now, as you guys know, I've imported the biomes of a 1.16 template, but we're kind of working with a 26.2 template. So what now? Frick, I don't... Okay, I'm just going to pretend I don't remember exactly which biomes got added, and I quickly want to just upgrade the biomes advancement, the adventuring time advancement, but making sure that I'm not missing any of the new biomes. So what we can do now, I can import from a player file where I've granted myself all the biomes. I was in a 26.1 world there. I guess 26.2 would have the sulfur caves. So ignore that we don't have the sulfur caves in here. But the point is, it's going to now filter for adventuring time. And this is 26.1.2 without the sulfur caves, but whatever. I can now go and do select criteria difference. And what it's going to do now, it will automatically detect which advancement criteria are in the imported file that my current template doesn't have. So my current template doesn't have any of these imported criteria, but it does have these criteria that the import doesn't have. So basically, we're going to remove all of these outdated biome names that the import doesn't have, and the import does have these. So if we apply this now, you can see there's stage criteria. We could revert that. All the criteria that are staged, you can't select now, so it doesn't accidentally overwrite anything. And you can then confirm. You can also see 30 get added, 18 get removed. I confirm, and now we're on 54, and this is the exact amount of biomes that there is within 26.1.2. And now you can see biomes. Obviously, some of the display names are missing now, but biomes is fully done. And so that simply, we have just, that's how simple it was to just update an advancement with new criteria. Very straightforward. And we can now also import from, not another template, import from player file. I've granted myself all the advancements, right? So I could go ahead and basically go here, select new advancements, and in this pop-up, it will now show me all the advancements that are in the imported file, but not in my template. And this is pretty cool. So this is basically the easiest way to immediately fill up to the latest amount of advancements, which in this case, I guess would add up to 126. Pretty beautiful. Pretty beautiful. And we can, well, select all, deselect all, but most importantly, if I, yeah, this is a separate pop-up now. If I go ahead and, yeah, select some of the differences, I'm going to confirm this. It's going to jump back to this import. And you can now see I have 7 advancements selected that I know for a fact my template doesn't have. So you're not going to run into the error of, having advancements selected that are already in here, right? So they're just added. Absolutely beautiful. I'm just going to save that. Some advancements got added here on the side in the automatic layout. I'm going to import again from a player file. What we can do as well, let's say I'm going to... So basically what I just did, I renamed adventuring time to adventuring time _ yas, which is obviously wrong, which is why stuff are incomplete again. But basically what I can do now, if I import from player file here and I select advancement renames, it actually sees, okay, there's 54 to 54 criteria overlap exactly. There has to be an 80% overlap. So if I have 5 advancements in the current template and 5 criteria in the current template and 4 criteria in the import, those 4 will have to match. A 5th one in the import must not necessarily match, and this will still be flagged. So even the advancement name could be completely different. If 80% or more of the criteria match, it will flag it as a rename. Otherwise, it will fall back to this very last part of the advancement being named the same. But a Minecraft or adventure, both of these could differ, and it would just be the last part that has to match. For like mid-era, it will only do the criteria overlap because it's obviously achievement dot something. So that's important to note as well. But it either can detect the rename by the advancement itself being named the same, but for example, instead of adventure, it'd be husbandry. But I can select this now. There can also be multiple candidates. I'm going to select this one. Pick best for all. Also just matches like by criteria overlap. Then we can apply it. And it now stages as the renames. Let's, for example, go even a step further. And I'm going to just delete a few. I'm going to bulk delete the selected one. So I've deleted 3 criteria. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to import from the player file. And now if I go advancement renames, we're going to first rename 51 out of 51 overlap. But obviously we know the imported file has 3 more criteria. We apply the rename. And now it even detects 3 criteria differ. So it tells us if we hover over it that we can also check for criteria differences. And then we can also do show recipes, right? In this case, it doesn't change anything. And if we then go ahead and look for the adventuring time right here, we can select these and apply. We staged those 3, confirm the import, and now what we have done, we have not only renamed it back, but also added the criteria back that were missing. It's important to note here that this differences stuff only really exists for advancements, because that's where it makes the most sense. What's really interesting as well, if I were to say, okay, the lava bucket one, lava bucket, I don't freaking know what I'm naming it, and then I'm going to import from the player file, and I select stale advancements. It's actually going to, first of all, it's going to detect, because the lodestone advancement actually got put into the husbandry tab, so it actually notices that. And then it also sees as a stale advancement, it sees the lava bucket, right? We don't have a recipe in this. If I were to add a recipe, that would also show up if I check this. But I can now see this advancement is stale. If I select that, it's stale because it's not in the imported file, but in the template. Confirm, it's actually going to remove that advancement. We can obviously bring it back beautifully. And then if I go from player file, as we just saw, the lodestone one was actually renamed as well. So if we go advancement renames, and I am tweaking. Do we not have the lodestone in here? Oh yeah, okay, so I guess, yeah, because the lodestone isn't in here, it doesn't get renamed, does it? No, lodestone is in here. Oh, because both are in here, right. So this is a bit unlucky. You can see adventure and nether. It's actually in the adventure tab. So if I were to delete the adventure one, right, and import from the player file, and I then do advancement renames, it's actually going to flag the lodestone one. This is a classic case because the lodestone got moved into a different tab. So this situation might actually occur. You can apply the rename. You can see one criteria also differs because we've actually imported the criteria as well, criteria difference. I'm definitely going to add a search bar to this as well. You can see the lodestone has a use lodestone criteria. We can add that, I guess. We'll show it as a complex advancement. Why not? And you can see the lodestone is in the adventure tab now, as it should be. Yeah, and actually it has the use lodestone as a criteria, but we can also just remove that beautifully. And then it will show as a regular simple advancement. Again, of course, this differences thing doesn't really make that much sense for other tabs, mainly focusing on advancements, because those are always going to be the big thing. And yeah, with statistics, it's not really that easy to do that. Because, well, statistics, you can't just grant them all to yourself. You kind of have to add them manually. But again, you can take them from other templates as well and have the images and everything properly set up. So this is pretty huge. Some cool freaking stuff. And yeah, enjoy the v1.5.0 update. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Hope this was insightful, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.